An IRS agent turned murder defendant continues to stand trial for plotting his daughter's au pair to kill his wife and mother of his child. We have the latest from that trial today. And actor-director Timothy Busfield still behind bars on child sex abuse charges that he denies, what authorities are asking from the public. And in Ohio, an Amish man wants his confession suppressed at his murder trial. Why his beliefs about God played a big role in the judge's decision. The court of law is done for the day, so let's call to order Court of Opinion. Welcome to Court of Opinion. I'm Jenaé. Thank you for joining us for a deep dive discussion on the trials of the day. First up, a man who avoided arrest for 20 months. He's getting closer to his murder case being in the hands of a Virginia jury. The au pair affair murder trial for Brendan Banfield has already seen the state's star witness on the stand, the Banfield family au pair, Juliana Maglahase. She laid out everything about her affair with Banfield and then a plan to remove Banfield's wife, Christine, from the picture. Now, the au pair says that Banfield was the mastermind behind this plot that involved luring a man that they found on a fetish dating website to come to their home for a consensual attack on Christine in order to stage a double murder. Now, today, the jury was inundated with photos portraying the gruesome scene where two victims lost their lives inside of the Banfield home. In case you missed it, here are the highlights from day 3.
Did you have the opportunity to return to the home on October 13th, 2023?
I did.
Why were you there on that date?
For a subsequent search warrant.
Okay. And on that date, did you again photograph the house?
I did.
Did you inspect the bedroom that had been Juliana's?
Yes.
Directing you to Commonwealth's 94, is this the same room?
This is the same room.
How were you able to identify it?
The Brazilian flag above the bed.
Did you notice that anything had changed?
There were no longer any items in the closet.
Okay. Did you eventually find her clothes?
I did.
Where did you find them?
They had been moved to the primary bedroom's closet.
Had there been any other changes in the primary bedroom?
They had gotten new flooring, new bedroom furniture, and pictures that had once featured Brendan and Christine had been taken down and replaced with Brendan and Juliana together.
So showing you Commonwealth's 97, is this the primary bedroom?
This is.
In October of 2023, 8 months after the murders.
Yes.
And I'm gonna zoom in here. Is this one of the photographs you were speaking of?
It is.
Okay. And did we see others in the room?
Yes. That is a second photo.
What is it that is next to Mr. Ryan's left hip, partially under him?
It would have been a black slide and a shoe, slide on shoe, and a backpack.
What observations did you make about the backpack?
Once we opened up the backpack, this would be the photo showing the back of the pack from the it's the back inside compartment of the backpack, and there was blood spatter on there.
Item 133, what is this a photograph of?
It's going to be Mr. Banfield's blue jeans.
What did you observe about these pants?
That they had blood stains on them.
To your knowledge, was surveillance video collected from the McDonald's restaurant located at 2475 Centerville Road in Herndon?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and this car creeping in here, that's Mr. Banfield's car, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the timestamp on this video, to your understanding, is that the correct time, 7:18 a.m. on December 24th, 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
And we see him pulling into a parking spot?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that's Mr. Banfield getting out of his car?
Yes, ma'am.
These are Brendan Banfield's jeans, is that correct?
Yes.
And then we had this spot on the back, correct?
Correct.
And what did your testing reveal?
Blood was indicated in each of the stains. I developed 4 single source profiles. It was the same single source profile. From the remaining 2 areas, I developed mixtures with the same major profile, which was also the same profile as the single source profile developed from the 4 previous stains. And Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor of this profile. The other 3 individuals were eliminated as contributors to this profile.
That blood spatter on the jeans, big visual evidence for the Commonwealth inside of that courtroom. Let's break it all down with our power panel who is standing by for you. We've got an excellent panel on deck for you. Let's bring them in. Criminal defense attorney and former federal prosecutor Michael Sterling, entertainment host Holland Reed, and trial attorney Mike Jafer. Good to see all of you on today. Let's start with you, Michael Sterling, because I want to talk about those bloody jeans and the blood spatter on them. What's your opinion of this case and whether or not blood on his jeans when he admits to stabbing not stabbing his wife, shooting the man that he said stabbed his wife?
Yeah, I mean, I think the DNA evidence isn't going to matter as much. I mean, there's basically, you know, this confession that, hey, I did the crime, right? This is a case where you're not, that he did the crime, but he did the act, right?
He did the shooting of the, I don't even know what's called Joseph Ryan, the stranger, but he was also there where his wife, he said, was stabbed by someone else.
Right, and so I don't think the blood spatter is going to matter as much as it's going to come down to really the credibility of Juliana. I think that's really what it's going to come down to. If the jury does not believe her, right? If the jury believes that the state manufactured this witness, if the jury believes that she didn't all of a sudden have a road to Damascus moment and find the truth, instead she found leverage, then I think that that's not, that they're going to discredit her. And if they discredit her, if the defense attorney has discredited her, you're going to look for not guilty.
Road to Damascus. Road to Damascus moment. Wow, that's impressive, Michael Sterling. That's really
manufacturing a witness. Manufacturing a witness, please.
So, Holland, what's your opinion of Juliana, since we're already talking about her? We'll get to a lot about her in a minute, but what's your opinion of her testimony on the stand?
So I'm going to go back to what you just said, manufacturing the witness, okay? So we got to deal with believability. We got to deal with what is a perfect witness and what is someone that is your actress and that's going to perform to win the case,
Spoken
right?
by an actress.
Yes, hello. Hi. I can do all it, but what I'm looking at is who was the orchestrator, the puppeteer, who was the actor, who was the performer. And I look at that in the storytelling of this case, and that's what, when you said that, you said manufacturing witness, and I'm just going, oh, is that the angle we're gonna go to in this case? Because if that's what we're gonna do, then that would be what everyone does all the time. This situation, this is an au pair that completely was a part of a scheme, of a story.
You don't think she was the mastermind?
Narratives.
No, I don't think she was the mastermind.
Go ahead, Michael J.
Yes, go ahead.
So listen, narratives kill you faster in a courtroom than bullets. Every one of those jurors is going to have a narrative. What a bizarre thing. An au pair coming in, taking care of your kid, and at a very minimum, participating in whether it's a criminal murder or a self-defense murder. What a bizarre thing. Pictures of her kissing your husband. I think every one of those jurors are going to have
You're a co-conspirator.
But the problem is that she didn't find the truth
at a minimum.
She didn't find the truth until after she received discovery, after she reviewed the evidence, after she had all the materials, after she had an opportunity
there
to
was
know who
a
the witness
length of time.
She didn't find after she wrote all those notes from jail. She didn't find Jesus until after she did all of that.
Let's listen to something that Juliana actually said. She was asked about her documentary that is in the works. Take a listen.
It says the documentary film will be made regardless of whether I am here or in Brazil. It'll be an interview and everything. I'm still talking to them, negotiating. I want to hire them out, especially since my whole life will be exposed to everyone, right? And they're going to be making a lot of money off of it. We deserve something.
What's the reason? Just give the details as to why you think you deserve something.
In my point of view, it's always been most about my family and what I've put them through, what they've been going through since my arrest and all this happened.
Deserve something. Holland, this is financially. How do you think that landed with the jury?
What does she deserve? I don't even understand the question, so please help me out here. Do you think you deserve something? What is it, a lighter sentence is what we're talking about?
She's already getting that.
Is that what we're talking about? Because if she's now flipping which is what people like this do, then by all means, flip, baby, flip. But this is, I'm not even, I don't understand the question, to be honest with you, but I'm just looking at her. First of all, she's an absolute terrible actress. She is the worst witness that she can have, and she's defending herself terribly across the board.
Michael Sterling, to that point, unlikability, is that something that's going to discredit her when the state's not saying they like her? They just have her as a witness.
Yeah, well, unlikability can lead to the jury not finding you credible, right? And bad actresses get paid all the time. There's a bunch of shows on Tubi that we should all watch. Bad actresses get...
Hey, Court TV is on Tubi, too. You can find some great content on Tubi.
But bad actresses get paid all the time. And but it will come down to, does the jury find her credible? So if they believe she's acting, and even if she's bad at it, right? And the jury says, hey, we don't find her credible. We do believe she's acting. We do believe she's making this stuff up. We do believe that she didn't, find the truth until after she did review the discovery and all the evidence material.
Go back and look at, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, they needed to have Michael Sterling on the defense team because he absolutely broke it down. I'll keep it even more simple. They're not going to believe her.
No,
they're not going to like her, and they're not going to believe her. She's a complete liar. Whether or not they convict him or not, man, it's just too outlandish to believe that all of it is made up. This is going to be taught in law school exam, but this is unbelievable.
Let's take a look at some video that was shown today, because we're talking a lot about Juliana, but she's not even on trial. It's Brendan Banfield who's on trial, and there was some video played today of him at a McDonald's, where this was part of the plot. He was supposed to go to work, but be at a McDonald's, and he was going to stay there until Juliana called him to say, it's time now to come to the house. There's a man here that's attacking your wife, and that was the entire setup for him to come and shoot and kill this man who the prosecution says they lured in. So this was shown to the jury today. What do you all think about Brendan Banfield's innocence in all of this? Because it really doesn't matter about Juliana. It's whether they are going to believe him or his defense.
But let's go back for a second, right? You don't have to believe her all the way. You don't have to if you discredit her enough, it's not, is he innocent? It's, has the prosecution proven him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt? And if the defense is good at their job, you're going to stand up in closing argument and you're going to say, a reasonable doubt is a reason you can give and articulate. Let me give you some reasons to doubt. She lied, she did this, she did that, and you walk the jury and give the jury every reason to doubt. So the jury may walk away saying, I don't think it's all made up, but I also don't fully believe her, and I've got some doubt as to whether or not he's guilty of murder.
So I'm gonna jump in. And, can I jump in really quick? And I'm just I'm just gonna say this. Okay, so I think in addition to what you're saying, when they start doing discovery, which I'm sure which is all the things that are happening, what are the patterns? What were the patterns prior to this? I feel like this is based on behavior more than anything. Like, of course, all the documents, all the things coming forward. Yeah, they have the video of the McDonald's. What were all the patterns prior to this? Did you guys set up times that you met, times that you were at the house, times that we were doing this, times you were on the phone calls? What time were you allowed to call me? What have you? So I think behavior and patterns are going to play a very big part in. Am I wrong?
And a lot of that is part of the state's case. Go ahead, Michael Schaefer.
I agree, but I think it's going to come down to whether or not the jury believed that he believed this was his ride or die chick. I think if the jury believes that he thought this was his ride or die chick, and then it doesn't matter. They're going to backfill intent. They're going to backfill patterns. They're going to backfill reasonable doubt. All of it. They think that he thought this was his ride or die chick, and she flipped on him after a few months. After then case is over.
He was not arrested for 20 months. Does that mean that the state did not have a case until she flipped?
She flipped. She's not believable. Look at the first video. That's the worst acting I've ever seen in my life. I wouldn't cast her in a freaking McDonald's commercial.
Michael Sterling, what do you think? Did they have a case without Juliana?
Absolutely not. She's their key witness. She's their most important witness. She's the only witness that puts him in there, right? And she didn't find the truth. She found leverage.
Let's say she's telling the truth. Humor me, Holland. She's arguing that she wasn't the mastermind. That's the biggest thing here. Based on what you saw from her, if she's telling the truth, do you think it's possible that she could be the one who put all of this in motion to try and get with her boss, her former lover?
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here as a woman that is alpha female, and also I love my men. Let me listen, because I've been on panels with a bunch of women lately, and let me just say this: women are the masterminds of everything. And
100%. You can ask my wife that.
I'm just saying this: we can put ideas in your head without you even knowing that we put ideas in your head. And I'm not saying that she's doing this. I'm saying that they did it together, and they are equally responsible for the outcome of this situation. And let's just also go back to the person that is now being framed for all of this. And it's just unfortunate because these two individuals, they orchestrated this, and I don't believe for 1 second that she was like, hey, babe, let's just talk about it. And let's put it down. Yeah. I'm sorry. I love my women, but I also know my men, and I guarantee you both of them were like, well, all right.
We got to leave it there. Okay. I think that's a good note to leave it on because the jury is going to come back, not tomorrow, court is dark there, but they will be back after the Martin Luther King holiday on Tuesday for more testimony. We may be getting to the end of the Commonwealth's case there. Coming up, though, on the other side of this break, we're going to be breaking down the most compelling evidence that's been presented to the jury so far in week 2 of the Uvalde school massacre trial.
Tonight, on closing arguments, a father's affair with his family's au pair that prosecutors say led to a double murder. We'll show you all of today's key testimony as our experts weigh in.
Closing arguments tonight at 8, 7 Central, only on Court TV.
In Texas, jurors have listened to more heartbreaking testimony in this week of the trial for a former Uvalde, Texas school police officer. Adrian Gonzalez is accused of not doing more to save lives in the 2022 massacre that killed 19 students and 2 teachers. Now, of course, the killer was killed at the scene. And Adrian Gonzalez, this officer who was the first person on the scene, he's the first one to stand trial in connection to this massacre. There were nearly 400 officers who arrived to the scene that day, but only Gonzalez and the former Uvalde Schools police chief, Pete Arredondo, who have been charged. Now, this week, testimony revealed why, out of all of these officers at the scene, Gonzalez is the one standing trial. So here's what our court of opinion chose as the best evidence that jurors have seen this week. First, a teacher, Melody Flores, she took the stand yesterday, and she testified about coming face to face with the shooter. She said she warned Gonzalez, who was first on scene, Flores, about the shooter, and she said that he was entering the 4th grade building, but that nothing was done. So we can hear it in her testimony. She opted for her face not to be shown.
How long had you been talking to the police officer when you heard the continued gunshots at the south end?
A couple of seconds.
Just a second or 2?
Maybe 3 to 5.
And how many shots did you hear?
Couple.
Okay. And when you heard the shots, did that cause a reaction from you? Did you say anything to the officer?
Like I said, I kept telling him that he needed to be stopped. He was going before he goes into the 4th grade building.
When you told the officer to go in, did he go in?
No.
What did he do?
Yes, he just stayed there. Because, like I said, that's when I ran to see if everybody else was in and find a place.
He just stayed there?
I believe so.
And about how many times did you urge him to go in and do something?
Like I said, it was a couple of times.
The reason why this moment in time is so critical to this case is because it's before the shooter barricaded himself in rooms 111 and 112. So there may have been the opportunity to deny him and delay him. That's what the prosecution is arguing here. Let's bring back in our power panel. We have with us Michael Sterling, Holland Reed, and Mike Jafer. Mike Jafer, I'm going to go out to you and see what you think about this particular evidence. Is this the biggest evidence of the trial so far?
Absolutely. Look, I put school shooting cases in 2 buckets. Real criminal cases or Monday morning quarterback cases. When I heard that this guy was charged, I thought it was one of those Monday morning quarterback cases until I saw the evidence that you're talking about in the video of him leaning on the wall for over an hour while close to 20 kids were slaughtered. I think this evidence is very powerful because it builds a narrative for the jury, which is this person was not just a coward. Listen, when I drive by a crime scene, I'm a coward too. But I'm a civilian, right? I don't have the training, right? But it's not criminal to just not go into the school, but to do what he did and to that level and to not follow anything, none of his training, not penetrate the school, not do anything. I think they put me over the line. Today was the first day where I thought maybe they're going to get a conviction.
Holland, if you're a juror and you're hearing that teacher on the stand saying, I was face to face with the shooter and then I was face to face with the defendant and told him to go and he didn't, how would that impact you?
If I can be honest, I'm gonna say I'm pissed. It makes no sense. Sorry, didn't mean to, you know. We had this conversation where I go back and forth between being a person that would run into the fire, because that is the person that I am, versus the person that, I don't want to blame him, and the sole blame shouldn't be on him. I don't think that. But I do believe that that was his one job.
And could have been his one moment.
Your one
Michael
moment.
Sterling. You talked about qualified immunity. What is that and why does it apply or not apply here?
See, and that's what really frustrates me in this situation, right? If training were automatic, then no officer would ever freeze. No officer would ever not do the right thing under the circumstances, right? So you can't treat training like it's some ironclad, automatic thing that comes, because that's just not the way human beings work, right? And what frustrates me about this particular case is that we see all across the country, we see police officers shoot and kill unarmed civilians and get qualified immunity, get defended by folks. And then you see this guy who made what I believe is a tactical mistake, and it is a tragedy. But I believe he made a tactical mistake. But hindsight should not be treated as criminal conduct. The confusion that he may have gone through in that moment, to me, shouldn't be treated as culpability, right? I think he made a tactical mistake, a tactical failure based on everything I've seen and heard. But I don't believe that that rises to the level of criminal conduct, especially
Let's talk about that confusion. Let's talk about that confusion, because our second piece of evidence is this. The body camera footage from another officer. This is Sergeant T. Daniel Coronado. He's with the Uvalde Police Department. He was Gonzalez's supervisor, and he arrived at the scene minutes after Gonzalez did. And you hear in his body camera Gonzalez's voice. Take a listen.
Over here. He's in the middle. Careful. I saw a teacher on the ground and I thought she had tackled somebody.
Who said I saw a teacher on the ground and I thought she tackled somebody?
Adrian Gonzalez.
She didn't say, I thought she had a gun.
I'm sorry?
He didn't say, I thought she had a gun.
No.
Okay, he's reacting there. Michael Jafer, he's saying, and there's another part where he says that the shooter is there in the middle. So it seems like he does have some knowledge.
Yeah, no, he does. So look, I've vacillated between agreeing with both of my co-panelists, right? Up until today, I was in the Michael Sterling camp on this, which I don't think there's criminal culpability. But I think the evidence that you just showed shows that, to me, I think he crossed the line, because I wanted to understand, what would I do if I was in that situation? What would I do if I was under that anxiety, right? So what did I do? I went to AI. I said, compare his duty handgun in power with the AR-15 rifle that was used by the assailant. And so what AI told me was, if you want to compare those two handguns by way of animal, his handgun was a guard dog, and the AR-15 is a tiger in the wild. So to me, I thought to myself, for sure, this guy should be found not guilty, because he was not, his training, because what Michael's saying is, you know, his training is not this automatic thing. I agree, right? Because he's still a human being. He's not a robot. But at the end of the day, man, that's all he had to do, and he did nothing. Just the video of him leaning on the wall today and just leaning there for a long time, just, to me, it just rubbed me to a point where he's not being charged with murder. He's being charged with low-level felonies. So perhaps it's going to stick.
A lot of comparison has been made between this case and the Parkland school shooting case, because they went after the school resource officer. He was acquitted, Scott Peterson, but in that situation, I was there for that, covering it, and there was a lot of confusion. He didn't even know what building to go in. Is there enough confusion here from that body camera footage, Holland, to make you change your mind?
No, I don't think there's any confusion. I think there's cowardice, and which is what we've all witnessed. I think someone froze on the job. And I think that they had an opportunity to take this one person down with the tools that they were given in the job that they chose. And you screwed up. And I think that's what it comes down to. And unfortunately, it's not just him. And I'm sorry, and I gotta go back to the conversation we had the other night. We still don't know why the door was unlocked. Why? Who else is involved? Who else is a part of this?
Oh yeah, no, we don't know anything sinister about that at all.
About that
accident,
yes,
we don't even know who left it open. It was a common thing. I want to show something that I know Michael Sterling, we got double Michaels today on air. I want to show something I know he's going to be interested in, though. These photos being shown today of Gonzalez at his active shooter training. So this was training that he took back in 2018, and there were multiple photos of him holding a gun. It was brought out on cross that in training he used a rifle and not a handgun. What do you think about that as we look at these pictures, Michael Sterling?
I mean, I think that's important, right? I think it's important to note that if you're training with one thing but you're equipped with something different, that probably impacts how you handle it in a real life situation, right? And that's part of my argument. It's that I believe what my co-panelists believe, that he froze, that it was a tactical error. I believe all of those things, but the question becomes for me, does it rise to the level where you should be charged with a crime and be facing a loss of your freedom?
But not just him.
Because it was a tragic, it was unquestionably tragic.
Not just him, not just him.
I just want to add something. Again, I was in the Michael Sterling argument up until today, but here's the thing. He meets the elements, Julia. He meets the elements of the crime he's charged, because he's not charged with murder. He's not charged with any kind of premeditation or reckless murder. He's not even charged with manslaughter. He's charged with a crime. I read the elements. I think he meets the elements right on the nose. I don't see how he gets out of a conviction.
We will see what happens. We have to leave it there. Thank you all for your opinions and your passion about such a heartbreaking case that has impacted so many in that area, but also our country. We remember this massacre, and to see charges was really something a lot of people called for. It's playing out in that Texas courtroom. We will keep following it here on Court TV. That testimony begins again tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. When we come back, we go beyond the gavel. An Emmy Award-winning actor, Timothy Busfield, held without bond as he faces child sex abuse charges. We have details about that and a new allegation that he is having to deal with coming up.
The defendant is currently charged with 2 counts of criminal sexual contact of a minor, child under 13, and 1 count of child abuse. Under New Mexico law, each count of criminal sexual contact carries up to 6 years of incarceration, and child abuse carries up to 3 years.
Welcome back to Court of Opinion. We are taking you now beyond the gavel. In New Mexico, authorities held a press conference today. They detailed the child sex abuse case that they have against actor Timothy Busfield. Now, the 68-year-old who starred in West Wing, and he is now being held without bond after surrendering to authorities 5 days after an arrest warrant was issued. Now, the charges stem from allegations that he inappropriately touched 11-year-old twin boys. They're 11 now. They were 7 and 8 at the time that this happened on the set of a TV series that he was directing. Now, the DA didn't provide details as to the specifics of the case, but they encouraged anyone with information on this ongoing investigation to contact law enforcement. Now, on January 20th, the judge is going to determine if Busfield will be granted pretrial release during a detention hearing. We also know that Busfield faces a new sexual abuse claim. It is not a charge in a criminal case, but there is a 16-year-old girl who, through her dad, came forward, reporting it to police on Tuesday. So here's a look at the details from that report, saying that the abuse happened years ago during an audition where Busfield tried kissing the girl and putting his hand down her pants. Now, Busfield begged the family rather, to hold off on reporting this alleged misconduct if Busfield got therapy. And according to the filing, there's this information that the teenager's father was a therapist and agreed to that at the time. So again, no criminal charges in connection with that allegation, but it is out there now publicly, especially through these civil filings and the reporting of it to police. Let's break it down with our power panel. Let's bring back in Michael Sterling, Holland Reed, and Mike Jafer. Michael Sterling, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I'm going to tell you, one of the things in watching the bond hearing today is I think about due process, right? And what frustrates me in bond hearings that I attend and that I see other prosecutors handle is the way that prosecutors bring forth a bunch of uncharged, unsubstantiated allegations in order to deny you bond and erode your presumption of innocence. And I think that's what we saw today. They talked about 2 decades of abuse and things like that. There's been no evidence of that. They've not substantiated those allegations. They've done none of that. He has a presumption of innocence.
Fully agree.
And when you have a bond hearing, you're supposed to be focused on the charges and then the factors. Is he a risk of flight? Is he a threat to society? And the third thing is, are there any conditions that can mitigate any of those potential threats? And what the prosecutor said was, there are no conditions that can mitigate any of those threats. And my question is, well, what conditions were considered? Was house arrest considered? Was an ankle monitor considered? Yeah. What conditions were considered? So that's the one thing that I took away, not necessarily the charges that he was facing, but how the bond hearing was handled. Because what you got today was the first verdict, not from a jury, but from a judge saying you're denied bond.
And
Michael
the optical. And the visual, Michael, and it doesn't help when you have these silly jumpsuits in these remote court hearings. Everybody looks guilty, even your dentist, right? You could beam Santa Claus into that hearing and people would look at him and say, I don't trust him, right? So it's everything Michael just said, and that silly orange jumpsuit, and these remote court hearings. I mean, he's guilty. In the court of public opinion, he's guilty. It's a travesty. I hate that. And you know what I hate even more? Those self-aggrandizing press conferences that prosecutors have where they announce the stuff as though like they're this champion of like the champions. It's crazy. I'm not saying this guy's innocent. I'm not saying he's guilty. But at the end of the day, it's due process violations. It's not fair. The way they lay it out, it just frustrates me. Not just as a defense attorney. I want people to know, like literally, a lot of times prosecutors will have a press conference. A lot of the stuff they say is completely bogus out of competitive zeal.
All right, let's get to our entertainment host, because I want to know how rare you think it is for this to even come down, and what's your opinion of this case?
So, you both are wonderfully handsome and engaging and intelligent, but I'm gonna say then when there's a there, there's a there. And there's a reason why he's in that wonderful jumpsuit and in those handcuffs. And there's a reason why it is absolutely fair, because he has gotten away with this for decades, probably. We have witnessed this with Cosby, with Weinstein, with Epstein, with Diddy, with name the list of people that presumably are innocent until guilty, and then they're always guilty.
Cosby's case was overturned.
They're always
Diddy was acquitted of most serious charges.
Oh my goodness.
Weinstein's case was overturned in New York.
I said, look, I got to stay calm on my paper because I'm trying to stay calm.
Those are the facts.
But
those
let
are the
me
facts.
finish my point. Let me finish my point. That is perfectly fine. Whatever the system is in place, right, at this moment, you guys absolutely, it makes sense. But the justice system has never been in place for impressionable children who are trying to get into entertainment. 2 11-year-old boys, young girls, people trying to fight for their creative freedom.
But here's the problem. I'm gonna tell you what the problem is.
By men who have been in systems of in place
we're not disagreeing.
for so long.
I'm not disagreeing
so I don't
with
care
that.
what it looks like.
Holland, I'm not
I don't
disagreeing
care
with
what
that.
it looks like.
I'm not
Jumpsuit, put him in a
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not disagreeing, but what our problem is that when you violate somebody's due process, you end up, but listen,
a human being.
But just listen for a second.
Violate somebody's virginity.
Let him talk, Holland. Let him talk.
Sorry.
Let us finish.
I'm trying. I said
but see, this
calm.
is why. But see, Holland's point is why the Weinstein verdict was overturned in New York because somebody got too passionate, didn't give somebody a due process. You let in too much 404B evidence. That's why Diddy was acquitted of the most serious charges. prosecutors overcharged when you could have had a simple case, straightforward case.
And
you
the press
overdid it.
conference,
so when you violate somebody's due process, you compromise those children. You compromise those children's ability to get justice because overzealous prosecutors make critical mistakes.
Michael
and violate
J.
due
I've got to let
process.
Michael Sterling have the last word on this because we have to get to a break. But wow, a lot of passion from our power panelists for this one. We have to leave it there. We'll continue to follow the Timothy Busfield case. He, of course, denies all of the allegations and says he looks forward to being exonerated. We are going to get to, after this break, our hot takes on the cold facts. I think we're going to get some pretty hot takes from this panel. Their opinions on the biggest cases, including a serial killer suspect standing trial soon, an Amish man's confession. Will it come in at trial? And incriminating evidence seen today in the Mansion murders trial. Stay with us.
Tonight, on closing arguments, a father's affair with his family's au pair that prosecutors say led to a double murder. We'll show you all of today's key testimony as our experts weigh in.
Closing arguments tonight at 8, 7 Central, only on Court TV.
I'm going to ask you a lot of personal questions.
From the crime scene to the courtroom, this is Victim to Verdict.
Everyone has this heightened sense of anticipation. Our Court of Opinion experts, they have strong takes on all of the trials that we bring you here on Court TV. Now we want to get their hot takes on the big legal headlines developing today. Here are the cold hard facts on our first headline. The trial in the case of accused Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann is finally in sight. The New York architect is accused of killing 7 women across nearly 2 decades. The judge said on Tuesday he is aiming for right after Labor Day, quote, come hell or high water. That would be more than 3 years since the initial arrest of Heuermann. And during the hearing Tuesday, his defense attorney filed a motion that revealed details about his arrest and first day in jail. This is being reported by Daily Mail. It says that he was very calm and managed to sleep 5 hours in a chair before his arraignment. Let's bring back in our guest panel, see what they think about it, get their takes. And a reminder, you each have 25 seconds on the clock so that we can get to all of you and we can get to all of the stories. Holland, your take on knowing that information about Rex Heuermann and how he was right after he was arrested.
I just think it goes back. He's a sick individual. This is someone that is a sick individual. I hope they take him down. He is a serial killer. And if you are someone that loves true crime and you go to sleep to true crime, but you were also the criminal committing true crime, come on. You're just a sick individual. And I hope that whatever comes his way is what comes his way.
All right. Of course, Rex Heuermann has pleaded not guilty to all the charges against him. We don't know exactly what kind of emotion this is that this came out in, Michael Sterling, but what's your thought on whether that is important to this case, and will the jury ever know that he acted this way right after he was arrested?
I mean, it's possible the jury could know that. Those things can happen, but, you know, look, Rex Heuermann is somebody who wasn't identified by rumor or a coincidence, or he wasn't identified by an au pair who changed their story. No, he was identified by his own DNA that was discarded with his own hands in his own trash can, and it matched victims over decades. And so Rex Heuermann being calm, to Holland's point, just, I mean, it sort of tells you exactly what kind of individual this is when you can be that calm.
And Michael J. He's got a great defense attorney, Michael Brown, representing him. What do you think happens at this trial that we're not expecting, or do you think it's going to get moved again?
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a complete marathon. I don't think it's going to be moved. People don't know this. There's a big Netflix documentary, multi-series Netflix documentary about this. I watched the whole thing. It's disgusting. It's sad. The lengths that the prosecution and that the investigators went to catch him. They went undercover. I guess he was like a property assessor of some sort. They went through great lengths. He was in the right time, right place. DNA linked him. I think that's why the judge wants to keep going with it.
All right, and that's the time. Let's move to story number 2. This one out of Ohio. Prosecutors there are asking a judge to rethink this decision about tossing out a confession made by an Amish man who's charged with the murder and rape and kidnapping of another woman in his Amish community. And the judge ruled that Samuel Hochschletter, who talked to the authorities after they asked him to clear his conscience, he said that his rights were violated and that when deputies read him his rights, he made his statements, it was a no-go at trial. So it's not going coming in at this point. Now, Hochstetler speaks Pennsylvania Dutch as his first language, and he was told that having a lawyer was like having a church bishop seeking forgiveness, which the judge said likely made him think that confessing would help him, not hurt him. Prosecutors argue that Miranda didn't even apply because Hochstetler wasn't in custody yet. A judge is going to hear arguments about reconsidering this on January 26th. Michael Sterling, your take on this confession being out?
Well, one, I think the judge has ruled that Miranda does apply. And look, Miranda isn't valid if you think you're confessing to God rather than the government, right? That's not a confession, that's a misunderstanding. And so I think the judge did the right thing.
All right, leaving some time on the clock for Michael Jaffer. Michael Jaffer, what's your take on this? And let me add in there that we have a situation where this is recorded. Police just asked him to go ahead. This is important. If you want to clear your conscience, go ahead and tell us what happened.
People don't understand how many confessions are false, how many are under duress, how many are just made up. People don't understand that. Anyone who's watching this, Michael's a former prosecutor. He's probably thinking, wow, that's a very stupid take by Mike Jaffer, which is what my wife tells me whenever we disagree about dinner. But at the end of the day, a lot of people have false confessions. You can't really take a confession at its word. I think that this was the right decision. I agree with Michael about the Miranda and how it works. Yes, I think the judge did the right thing.
Holland, what's your take on this story involving an Amish man? He speaks Pennsylvania Dutch is his first language, and he's speaking to police.
I'm going to say this as an Amish man, a Pennsylvania man, an American. Know the law, learn it as a layman, and figure it out. Watch Court TV, figure out what's what, educate yourself, and know what you're supposed to say and not supposed to say, and what your rights are in any given situation. This was a misstep on many parts, and I'm educate yourself, educate yourself, educate yourself. You don't need law school, but educate yourself, people.
That's the time. Yes. Let's move to our final story of the night. Jurors saw potentially incriminating evidence today in the trial of a man accused of murdering his brother and his brother's family before setting both of their homes on fire. Now, prosecutors say Paul Canero fatally shot his brother and sister-in-law and then stabbed his niece and nephew to death. These details are gruesome. This all happened on November 20th of 2018, and today jurors saw this image of the defendant's hand the night of the fire, showing an injury that looks like burns on his left hand. Now, he doesn't deny that his own house burned down, but he thinks someone else was to blame, coming against their whole family. Holland, Reed, what do you think that injury looks like to you?
It looks exactly what it looks like to me. It's that he was trying to cover up the cover up the cover up. What was he doing? Was he putting out his own fire in a fireplace in his house, and then it just happened to be his house and his brother's house? The story is, there's always, again, the there, which I talk about, is like, there's more to the story. I mean, come on, we're not stupid here. And I absolutely believe that he did something to start something, to facilitate something, to cover up something.
Michael Sterling, is this compelling evidence, this picture?
It is. Motive explains why, evidence explains who. And so when you look at the evidence, the blood-stained clothing in his home, the same ammunition at the scene being found in his basement, when you look at all of the evidence, you can clearly see the motive explains why, but the evidence explains who, and I think this evidence is compelling.
Now, Michael Jaffer, I just want to mention that he does say there was a fire in his house and that he had to get his family out. So is there a possibility that he was putting out his own fire to get this wound? Can we tell arson from a wound like that, in your opinion, as a former public defender?
Yeah, absolutely. You can, and they will. Narrative. It kills you. If anybody on the jury starts to believe the narrative that he's lying and that was not from the fire in his house, but the arson that he did at the other house, then that narrative is going to carry the day. Man, Michael Sterling has given me a lot of one-liners I plan on using. Motives. Good job, Michael. It just helped my career tremendously today. Yes, I do believe. I do. And Holland called me handsome on the last block, so I won today. Today was a good day.
It's been a good night. Thank you all for being with us. Michael Jaffer, Michael Sterling, and Holland Reed. We really appreciate our power panel. Thank you for connecting with us and joining the conversation. I'm Julia Jenaé for Court of Opinion, reminding you that we all have opinions and they should always be rooted in facts when we can. Research, educate yourself, as Holland was saying. We should also be striving to respect the other's opinion, even when we don't agree.